Hi, Dr. Patrick Gentempo here, and thank you for joining us on our YouTube channel. We have great content in store for you. I'm so excited to be here with you, and let's jump right into it. Ben, I've watched a lot of what you've been doing on YouTube, and you're very engaging and certainly have some strong views around this whole world of cryptocurrency. So I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Anytime I get to talk crypto, it's time that I love.
Well, then you're going to love this. So, because that's what we're going to talk about. Let's first talk about how you got into doing what you're doing right now. What got you here?
Sure. So it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to summarize it the best way I can. So I've been in the kind of online business world since 2011. In 2011, I created a ticket company where I sold sports tickets and concert tickets and things of that nature, basically event tickets. And something happened in 2012 with a software I used to run that business where they had to start taking Bitcoin. And so I had to buy Bitcoin. I had to learn about it. And it was just this kind of thing where I was like, what is this thing? It felt like some kind of kind of sleazy, like gambling dollars or gambling wallet. It felt very similar to that. And so I put the money in, but I was doing it for actually Bitcoin's original purpose was a currency. So I was paying for a service with Bitcoin. Well, about a year later, so I bought in December of 2012. In November, of 2013, the price skyrocketed. And I actually had a little bit of money left over in the account from paying my service fee. And I was like, wow, this is all of a sudden worth a few $1,000s. Like it felt like it was nothing in there, like a couple $100. It's worth $3,000. And so I pulled it out and I was excited to do it. I took my family on a little vacation down to Florida and it was just free money. And I met a guy in a McDonald's over the Wi-Fi to sell him from a site called localbitcoins.com. And as I sat in that McDonald's waiting for him to get there for me to sell those Bitcoin to him, I was researching Bitcoin and it was so hard. I remember seeing it looked like a GeoCity site from like 1995. It was trying to lay out what Bitcoin was and, tell me about this Japanese guy named Satoshi Nakamoto and all this stuff. And I was just really overwhelmed with the information. And we didn't have YouTubers at that time. We didn't have people pushing education on crypto and Bitcoin. So I just kind of said, well, I sold it. It's over. And in 2017, I had bought Bitcoin a few times over those years. I thought it was kind of over when Mt. Gox crashed in 2014, but it was very resilient. It came back and I bought and sold a few times, but I was never what I would call in crypto really. But in 2017, I started doing the math on how much money I should have based on all the Bitcoin that I bought to pay for that service with. And it was like 8 figures, what it turned into. And I was like, oh my gosh, here I am. I had the best opportunity of my lifetime and I didn't understand it. And so I wasn't able to take advantage of it. And so I decided, even though in 2017, I thought maybe it was too late to get in, I just said, you know what, I'm going to go full tilt. So in January 2018, I started my YouTube channel to educate other people in crypto. And it was kind of a journey for me from an educational standpoint of, as I started the channel, I wasn't that knowledgeable about crypto, to be honest with you. But over the years, being in it every single day, that journey is what has actually led to my vast crypto knowledge and all the research. And so in 2018, in August of that year, I left my previous job and I said, you know what? I'm full-time crypto at this point, making YouTube videos. And then for a couple of years, people weren't really watching. And then, starting in 2020, things really started blowing up for me.
Wow, what a journey. What's interesting is I had a somewhat similar experience in the sense that when Bitcoin first came on the scene, I think when it was maybe around, maybe a little bit past when it first came out, but when it was around $300, trading at around $300 or so, I philosophically aligned with a decentralized, non-governmental controlled currency. And I'm somebody who is, I owned and ran for 23 years a technology company. So I'm not tech phobic at all. And I remember I said, I'm going to go and I just want to support this. I don't know if we'll ever do anything, but I'm going to just buy a chunk of it and just show my support for it. And then when I went in to try to figure out how to buy it, the whole idea about the wallets, and at that point in time, it was so complex and so difficult, and as you said, it just seemed so primitive in the way that it was trying to be done, that I said, I don't see that this can really go anywhere. If I'm having a tough time with it, I can't imagine what average people who don't have even my level of tech experience might be going through. So I basically backed away from it, and mistake, obviously, in hindsight. And I'm thrilled with what's going on right now, and I'm definitely invested in crypto. But it's interesting how a lot of the early adopters, what it took for them to get in there was something heroic, I think, on some levels.
I agree with that 100%. Like what I'm thinking as I'm listening to you talk is, looking back at my troubles and at your troubles, really we took it as kind of like a sign that this may be too difficult, but in reality, that was the sign of the early adoption.
Yeah.
If you go back to the beginnings of the internet, especially before, the World Wide Web was public, it was almost impossible. I remember when I was in the 7th grade trying to use the internet, and I thought that AOL was the internet. I thought America Online and its portal was the internet, just not really understanding that there was a vast world of information, not as much as there is now, obviously. But that's what I try to tell my audience is we look at adoption curves and how fast blockchain is getting adopted faster than the internet. Funny enough, not as fast as the VCR. The VCR was the one that had the highest adoption curve out of all technology in the last 100 years. But, we know what happened to it. Hopefully not the same thing that happens to Bitcoin. But we're still so early on that adoption curve. There's time for people to get in and still be early adopters. That time is drawing short, though. Like eventually, this will be mainstream. Everybody will be using blockchain, whether they're using it or not using it. But back then, the difficulty in buying it and the tension between wanting to get in and actually getting in, like that was actually the sign of how early we truly were.
Yeah, and interesting. I didn't know that stat on the VCR, but that got adopted so fast. But hey, that was entertaining people. The idea of having movies at home, I guess people jumped on that real quick. But with this, it's still not that easy, to set up an account and get it all going. But it's a lot easier than it was. Do you see that the ability in the next 2 to 3 years is going to even get so that the average consumer would have no problem setting up accounts and buying Bitcoin and using it for trade?
2 to 3 years, I think, is a possible number. I mean, I tend to think maybe 5 years.
Thanks so much for being here and watching that video. And can I ask you to please subscribe to our channel so you can find out when we're posting new content. You'll be alerted right away when we do. To share this with people you think might benefit from the information, and certainly it helps us if you like the video. So if you like what you just saw, go ahead and hit that like button. And again, thank you so much for being here with me right now.